Are we live?
Yep, you're good.
All right, thank you. Hey guys, Ken Cotham here. Just wanted to come to you today and introduce John and Tazi Malone. Sitting here with them, just visiting amongst ourselves. And I think you guys will find this interesting. We got this big Taylor estate coming up, and we're just going to let them kind of introduce themselves, and we're going to visit and let you guys sit in on this visit. Okay. Tell us about you. Introduce yourself. Who you are and where you're from.
I'm John Malone with Sold ASAP Auction Company. Obviously, the folks on our Facebook Live watching us now hopefully knows who we are. We're doing this with Kenny Cotham and Christie Hatman, and so it's on their Facebook as well. But we're utilizing two different phones just to let you guys know what's kind of going on behind the scenes there. We are here to talk about the estate of my father-in-law, Larry Taylor, who passed away last year, and we've got one heck of an auction coming up and several others, and pay attention. But John Malone with Sold ASAP Auction Company.
You know what my mom would say?
What?
The state of Larry and Claire.
I was thinking the same thing.
Well, this is more of Larry's stuff, and Claire's stuff's at home, so she will get her due in time. I promise you, she always did.
Now you guys have an auction company.
We do.
So tell us about Sold ASAP for Kenny's viewers. Like, where do you guys live, and what do you guys do?
We live in Paragould, Arkansas. We do estates. We do a lot of real estate.
A lot of real estate.
Do a lot of real estate, farms, that sort of thing. Got into the business. Well, this is how I got into the business. Grew up going to auctions with my dad and my mom, and that's how we got into it. Got in the blood. I hated going. I wanted to stay home on Saturday and watch cartoons, but didn't get to. I went to an auction and got my degree, went to college. John and I worked together. He had the Sears store there. We got married, and he had the Sears store there, and couldn't really work together.
Really what happened was you can't, too many chiefs in the kitchen or whatever they say. And so there's no secret there. We butted heads a little bit at the Sears store. And Tazi kind of just handed me her walking papers work-wise and said, I'll go do something else. I said, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to go get my auction license. And I kind of laughed.
I was like 24
I think
or
this
5.
was in 95 or 96, so I kind of laughed.
Now you're telling my age.
You were two.
Yeah.
She was two.
So I think it was in 95 or 96, and she went and got her auction license, went to Missouri Auction School. And I just kind of laughed about it, really. I thought, woman auctioneer, I had been to one auction, and it's Kenny's auction. She took me on a date in Mammoth Springs to meet her parents. And that's where we went. That's not a lie. And
Was Larry there, I guess?
Oh yeah.
Larry was there.
And
I got a cheeseburger, I think, from there, and it was good. But he looked me over from head to toe, and if you knew Larry,
So that was the first time he met you?
I believe it may have been. It was the first time I came to Mammoth Springs, and I came through and saw your auction. I bought a knife for $7.50.
You bought one. I bought one thing. It was a little stuffed dog. I thought it was stuffed, but it wasn't. It was filled
I have
with.
a little tag in here.
But Kenny probably told you it was stuff.
Kenny probably put the stuff.
It looks like a stuff.
In the ear.
I think
I
that's
could have
not
said
be
it looks
stuff.
like one.
So that was my first taste of going to an auction, and so after she said she was going to auction school, as I said, I laughed a little bit and chuckled. A woman auctioneer. There wasn't a lot of auctions going on around us anyway at the time.
Right.
I'd never gone to an auction.
When did you get yours, Christy?
94.
94.
Right.
Around close to the same time.
Same time. I think that's pretty cool because women auctioneers are they're still few and far between, honestly, especially ones that sell junk. There's a lot that do like benefit type auctioneers, but to have two women auctioneers, really good ones
From the same town.
from the same town, yeah.
It is odd, but neat in the same way.
Yeah.
And so she went to the auction school to tell you how we got in the business, and I think it was 9 days long, Missouri Auction School at the time, and came back and they ran a little ad in the paper for you. They put a little publication out, and it said local woman graduates auction school. Well, our mayor at the time, Mike Gaskell, hi Mike, he's no longer mayor since this year, but Gaskell saw that ad in the paper and called and said, "Hey Tony, can you do me an auction for the city?"
Awesome.
And we're like, okay. We didn't have clerking tickets. We didn't have a microphone. Didn't know the first thing really about how to do an auction, but we kind of ordered it.
Are you kidding me? I've been to
Well,
1,000 auctions.
I'm talking about behind
Behind
the
the
scenes,
scenes,
the
yeah.
paperwork, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff,
exactly.
more than what the public knows.
Definitely,
It
there's a
takes.
lot more to it.
And so we ordered that stuff real quick and put on a really successful auction. We sold probably, I think there were 74 guns in that auction. And guess what? The newspaper the following Monday runs an article about the guns being put back on the street.
Woman auctioneer puts
Oh,
guns back on the
no.
street.
So, to make a long story short, there's true story behind no publicity is bad publicity.
Mm-hmm.
That got a lot of publicity, and it really snowballed from there. She started getting phone calls while I was doing this. So I found myself working more for her I had my Saturdays off
Yeah.
at the time with the Sears store, and then I was working for her, and now I was the boss back then, and now here we are today.
And
she's the
Tati,
boss.
people always ask me, is it a disadvantage being a woman auctioneer? What do you think? Being a woman auctioneer, is it an advantage or disadvantage? And a mostly male dominated.
It can be both. It can be both. But and a lot of it is an advantage, I think, because of the empathy that you have for your clients. Not that you guys don't have empathy, we're just better showing it sometimes.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. You're better showing.
The empathy that you have for clients, a lot of the people who make decisions in the household, when an estate comes up, or a lot of the details are handled by a woman at home. So, we can relate to them in that way. I don't know, what do you think?
Well, I think people remember you often as that woman auctioneer, which I think that's actually an advantage.
Yeah.
If somebody from a distance says, "What do you do for a living?" You say, "Hey, I'm an auctioneer." "Oh, are you that woman from there?"
Exactly.
And I know people have said that about you. "Oh, that girl, that woman from Mammoth." I know.
With the weird name, Tazabah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
my real name. They
Yeah.
come from the reservation, actually. But yeah.
Well, okay, tell us about the reservation. Now, this kind of all ties in.
It does tie in. Let's start from the beginning. Then. Let's go from the beginning. We got time. They want to know.
Do they really?
Yeah, they do.
It's a neat story.
And I've heard the story. I've seen you live it. I've seen your life. But I don't
We all
ever get
knew
tired of it.
Larry.
I'm glued every time you tell it. So tell us again. And it's probably going to take both of you. So just
For
tell
clarity,
us. Just tell us.
Larry and Clara were Tazi's parents, and Larry was always at Kenny Coffin's office.
Yes, he was. I met Larry, just so you know, when he first came to town. I think he bought the mobile station.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shortly thereafter, he bought the FINA station. And my uncle worked for years old. He was one of my biggest supporters, and he was there every time the doors
That's
opened.
right.
And that's how I met the whole family.
So you're responsible for most of this mess.
Well,
For a lot
a
of
little
them.
of it.
He's seen some of it before.
And that's why I hired Kenny. In the beginning, we thought that we would do the auction because my dad always said, when something happens to me, I want you to have a big auction. I want you to put it all out there, have as much fun selling it as I did buying it. He was really proud of us being in the auction business. He loved that. So he wanted us to do it. In the beginning, we thought we would. And it was it's too emotional. It's kind of like doing your own, family's funeral in a way. I mean, there's happiness involved in this because of the cool things he collected, and then there's sadness, on it. So we couldn't do it. But the reason I got Kenny was because my dad had been going to his auctions every Friday and Monday night for 30 years. And Kenny was good to my dad. My dad respected Kenny. And toward the end, I know what my dad was like toward the end a little bit. So you needed some patience, a little bit of patience.
There he goes with another one of them damn speeches.
Yeah, exactly. When we have an auction, he would do that. He'd be like, "It's auction time." That's why I'm like nervous. Do these people really want to hear this? Because
For sure.
They want to hear it. They want to hear it.
For sure.
he'd go, "Oh, it's auction time," in the middle of the speech, and he'd be like, "Don't describe. They don't care. Just sell it."
Yeah.
But I'm going to let them tell the story. I want them to
I'm
tell the
sorry.
story. But she touched on something there when she hired me. Tazi We were at an auction together when she hired me.
Yeah, I was already
Sure,
planning on
yeah.
calling him.
Okay. But anyway, she said, Ken, you're going to get out there and you're not going to want to do it. You're going to be overwhelmed. I said, Tazi, nothing's going to overwhelm me at this point. Well, guess what? I was overwhelmed. I almost can't talk about it now. But anyway, there is no, I don't believe, guys, without you seeing it, you wouldn't believe it. There's no one auctioneer that could take this on. It's going to take all of us. You got 4 auctioneers sitting here, and all of our expertise put together is probably still not enough. But it's going to take this group, along with a lot of people behind the scenes that you don't even know, to pull this off. But it's I'm privileged to be a part of it. I'll mess around and get choked up myself, but that's okay. But anyway, John, you guys start
Okay,
telling us how this thing got started.
I'll start in the mid 1950s and go to 1968 and let Tazi take it from there.
Okay.
And forgive me if you're folks that know the exact dates. I'm going to give you a couple of dates. So I'm going to make some of this up, but it's going to be really close. The only thing I'm making up are the dates. So Larry and Claire went to school in the early 50s at Arkansas State University. He got a degree in math, and she had a degree in English. And they had jobs in Arkansas to teach at schools as soon as they got out of college. And Clara was looking in the newspaper, and she saw where you could make $1,250 more teaching in Alaska. Now, mind you, Larry grew up in Bunny, Arkansas, and if you don't know where Bunny, Arkansas is, you know where Black Oak, Arkansas is, or Caraway, that area, in the delta of northeast Arkansas, in a farmhouse with nothing but cotton fields around it, as an only child. Claire grew up right outside of Mammoth Spring, Arkansas, in Big Rock, in that Latin area, in a one-room schoolhouse, and her grandparents' house are on the farm.
We're going to sell the contents of that school.
We are going to sell that. That's right. That's coming up later. This is going to be
Stay
neat.
tuned.
Yeah. So it's two young couple that got married, and Clara was kind of behind this. Larry didn't really want to leave his mom and dad behind back then. He wanted to stay around here.
She was the boss.
She was the boss. She was the boss. So in 1958, they interviewed for a position in Alaska, and then another position came available, and I believe it was in Flagstaff, Arizona, as teachers making $1,250 more. A gentleman flew in from Flagstaff to interview them in Memphis. They got the job. Then they drove out to Flagstaff, and they said, well, we're not going to have you here. You're going to go to Window Rock, Arizona. We've never heard of Window Rock, Arizona, but this is where we're going. Tazi's mother told me this story a month before she passed away. So, it's pretty fresh. They go to Window Rock, and if you've ever been to Window Rock or ever seen pictures, it's in a lot of old westerns. It's a huge rock that's got a hole in it, and it's Window Rock, is why they call it. And that is where the Navajo Reservation headquarters is. So they taught school from 1958 to 1968 on the Navajo Reservation, and while he was there, with help from some of the natives, he opened up a small gas station. And we've got some pictures of the gas station, and I think it was maybe 23 cents a gallon, and cars lined up for miles, and it was the only gas station at the time on the reservation. So he was slam packing out there, changing oil and doing this, and then he kind of opened up another gas station, and then he opened up a pawn shop, and then he opened up a little restaurant, so they became busy, and they lived in a 28-foot travel trailer with a Weimaraner dog, just them two, for 10 years out there. And while Larry was out there, he got to know the Indians pretty well, and they trusted him. And for instance, if you're a Navajo, you can't kill a bear. You can't kill a bear. It is your grandfather's soul, is from what they understand. And someone may correct me.
Story we got.
This is a story we got, yes, and I was about to say that. Somebody correct me if this story's wrong, but I believe this is what Clara told me. So they would say, Mr. Taylor, Larry, please, there's a bear bothering our sheep and cattle. And we've got pictures of him, again, on his motorcycle with his gun. He would go over the mountain and he'd come back with a bear. You guys have seen the bears. In fact, I think 2 of them were here. And we kept one, I think, or two at the house.
There's one on the wall. In the
There's
house.
one at the wall now. So that's how he got to know them. And they would bring in old Winchester rifles. They would bring in Indian blankets, Navajo blankets and baskets, and trade with him, and he would pay them for them. And sometimes they became dead pine. And the same thing with the silver that we're selling. He would take that in his business, and he just collected it. And in fact, the silver selling was in the bank vault with a Navajo National Bank bag that went out of business in 1970, and an old wool sock from about 1952.
And you just got this stuff. I mean,
That's it. The silver and the guns, I can tell you, have probably only seen the day of light 3 or 4 times in 50 years.
wow.
And a lot of these signs are, as you guys know, are the same because you've been out there with us. So that, and he came back here in '68. Tazi's grandparents lived out on the farm in Big Rock, and Larry bought some land around them and then built their home where we're having the live auction next Saturday. And just bought up some property around there. So that's, and then they had this lovely woman, Tazi, and
51 years ago.
she can pick up from 1969.
1969.
And her name is Tazaba.
Tazaba.
They named her Tazaba, and that means what?
War woman. War woman. My mom was a big feminist person. That kind of, yeah. Well, to go with that, my mom was a big feminist person back in the day. The first day of school, she sent me, I found this when I was going through the estate, another crying moment, but she sent me to school, the first day of school, in a pair of moccasins here in Mammoth Spring.
Mammoth Spring, Arkansas.
Mammoth Spring, Arkansas. A pair of moccasins and some suspenders that said "Girls Live" on them, and I found them. And she told me, "Get out there and play football with the boys. Do not stand on the sidelines. It'll be a whole lot more fun." And I think that was because, and that's probably somehow, I don't know. That may have had something to do with me getting in the auction business over time. I'm not sure, and it was a lot more fun to play football than.
So did you grow up like a tomboy? Or?
I was a tomboy, pretty much. I liked clothes back in the day, but I was pretty much a tomboy out there in the. I was a daddy's girl. I was with him constantly. I mean, I went to feed cattle. I went to the Monday night auction. Kenny, I mean, wherever he was going, I was going. So
She was a tomboy, but she was also homecoming queen. Because I remember in high school, I remember Tazi Taylor from Mammoth. She's so pretty. I mean, I was just a shade bit younger.
51 years.
51 years ago. Girl, you look 49.
Thank you.
Hang on to 49.
Well, the other day, someone said something that we were going through our stuff. My cousin and I were in there, and he said something. And I go, "Oh yeah, I meant to say homecoming queen, but I said valedictorian." Everyone died. And I go, "Oh, I mean homecoming queen."
I don't think any of us were valedictorians. We'd be doing something different. We'd be selling insurance or something.
Yeah. But anyway, they collected my whole life. They were 2 different collectors. My mom, they had different styles. My dad was the guy that was like the original picker that would knock on anyone's door, and they liked him. They didn't shoot him or anything, but he would knock on anyone's door. One time we were always going to an auction. That was vacation to them, were auctions.
Tell them real quick, when you go on vacation, you got to stay in a hotel how often?
Every other night.
That's Larry's daughter right here. Every other night they got to stay in
You
a
got to
hotel.
pick up and get out and carry it back.
So he was always taking you to auctions, and what else?
Auctions, flea markets, and it was every other night. When we went to Massachusetts, we went to a really, really old estate down in Alabama, and it was in an old, like they had from the Civil War area, and it still had a lot of the original stuff there. I mean, we just went everywhere.
Shipshewana, y'all went several
We did
times.
Shipshewana. Canton, that was a regular. I mean, that was home to me. I had a lot of friends at Canton.
Yeah. Canton, Texas is like one of the South's largest flea markets that has lots of everything. And he was going back in the day when it was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Larry had a vision.
Mm-hmm.
The man had a vision. If it wasn't for people like Larry Taylor, this stuff would not exist.
You're right. Most of the stuff you go around to these gas stations or beverage facilities, it's all buried and gone forever.
Well, just for instance, guys, I mean, I've been in the auction business a long time. If you found one of these in an estate, you would be jumping up and down and showing everybody, look what we found. Guys, we've got thousands of things. I mean, just different items that you just don't see. And this is a chance in a lifetime as a buyer to buy some items that have only changed hands one time.
The massiveness of this estate rendered him speechless. When he called me, he said, Christie, you're just not gonna believe it. You're just not gonna believe it. Now he's been doing it for years, and he was stunned by the quantity and the quality of it. And then when I saw it, I'm like, I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. So people who've been doing this, y'all, and you grew up with it, and you may be a little bit more desensitized to it, but I think you still appreciate the volume of it. But when he was
The
speechless,
volume of everything.
I was like, yep, this I gotta see. And then when I saw it, I couldn't sleep for 2 nights. I
And
was
we're still not through it, guys.
oh yeah.
This is going to be an ongoing thing. This is probably going to take us the better part of a year, maybe, to get this accomplished. And we don't even know. We still don't know what we're going to find.
We don't either.
We don't either.
But I didn't mean to interrupt
Oh,
you.
no,
We
you
got
didn't bother
off,
me.
off track there.
No,
But
good.
tell the story about the little circuit that you guys had going to the gas station.
Well, I'm gonna tell this one story that
Okay.
I just started, and then I will.
Okay.
We were headed to Kentucky to some auction. It was always an auction. I mean, I didn't go to Disney World. I went to, an auction or junket. That's what we did. He was original picker there. But anyway, we're driving along and we see these tables out in the yard, and there's glassware all on it. And then there's a big sign. And I don't remember which sign it was, but there was a big sign on the barn. Well, my dad, ooh, big pull in, Well, it happened to be a family reunion. But my dad got the sign bought. My mom bought some, remember when Shawnee used to be really good? My mom got the Shawnee dishes. They emptied it out into some plastic, and we ate lunch with them.
They were serving food in the shop.
Oh, yeah, it was-
And your mom took it home.
Oh yeah, they just cracked it out in a bowl, and we
No surprise.
Oh,
They
that's
probably
funny.
still don't know that you weren't cousins. If they didn't come the next year, we don't know where they went.
They were great. They made the party.
That one girl could eat.
Exactly, yeah. So that's but we would make circuits. My dad I always get the word mixed up. I keep thinking it's dispensary, but it's not dispensary. It's not distillery. Where's my mind? Not dispensary, not distillery, but
Another
Refinery?
5 years.
distributorships.
Distributor.
He would go to distributorships when we were little kids. When I was a little kid, we would go. I'd get in the car with him. We didn't know I didn't ever know where we were going, but we were always going somewhere. And he would make his little stops, and he would stop in and visit and see if he could get anything bought or just visit. And then we would go somewhere else. I mean, he knew where they all were. And finally, people would.
Well, they're changing brands. You never know.
Yeah.
You're going to hit the time when these signs are going out. And
He would buy, and we have them here, the new old stock gas globe lenses. He would tell me, he said, oh, John, I just go right in that distributorship, and every one of them was about built the same, and on top of the office, they had a little ladder on every one of them. And he said, I would go in and ask him, he said, well, you can go up that ladder and look. He said, I'd come down 2 or 3 boxes, and he would get the old glasses, and this was back in the 70s, before really, the stuff was collectible, and we are still finding boxes of that kind of
And
brand new
I was
stuff.
trying to think what his draw to all that was, and I think it was he grew up in an old country store out in the right there in his yard. They had signs all over it. I have pictures. There's Coke signs and stuff all over it, and I think that kind of advertising probably makes him feel at home. And then the gas. I mean, he was young and young and good looking back in the day out in Arizona. And they had a gas station, and then he had a gas station here when he was fairly young, and I think that's why he was attracted to all the advertising. And they did used to set up in Canton and stuff, but my dad never sold a sign that he didn't wish that he kept. My uncle told the story. He's like, yeah, your dad, if someone came up and there was a sign he really liked, and he'd tell him what he had to have for it. If the guy acted like he was going to buy it, if he didn't buy it, the next guy that came along, the sign was a little higher.
Yeah. And one thing for people who didn't know Larry, I knew him later in life, and I'm assuming he was this way all along, but he was kind of soft-spoken. He wasn't real aggressive.
No.
So he befriended people, and that's how he got to buy things, I'm sure, because that was his manner. He was kind, he was soft-spoken.
Yeah, you're exactly
instead of
right. That was his
right in your
manner.
face, trying to
It
be
wasn't
aggressive.
something he had to try to do.
Right.
that was him.
Yeah, and he loved people.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what, you know, later in life he quit selling stuff. That's when our problem began. Where our hoarding problem began. He quit selling stuff, and he would still go to auctions because he liked the social part, because he loved people, you know, and he liked to buy. Then he started just buying in quantity stuff. We have some of that too. Thanks, Kenny.
Here's how much he did not like to sell. Can you see the Laro sign in the background? Is it in there? And you don't have to change it if you can't.
You can see a little bit of it behind the pillar.
There's this Laro sign, and if you look on our website, I wrote a little story about Larry and Clara.
I haven't read it yet.
And there, you haven't read it yet? Well, don't. But there is a little paragraph about Larry and Clara, and there's a picture of Larry setting up in Canton, Texas, and I believe it's in the 80s, early 80s. That Laro sign in the 80s, he had out for sale. He didn't sell it because he didn't want to sell it.
He priced it where it was.
He did. He priced where he didn't want to sell it. There's
I
another
saw
one.
that picture, the Nash sign.
The
was
Nash
also-
sign was another one. I
The
didn't
Nash
think
sign
so.
was also in that
Oh,
photo.
that Lara one he liked because it was Larry.
Close to Larry, yeah.
Close to Larry.
Good.
So, and then my mom had a different style. She liked to win. And this is back before the internet. So she had all kinds of knowledge in her head. And she liked to go and outsmart someone at an auction. You know, she would be like, well, I didn't know what that was. And she always, you know, I could tell when she's after something by the way she bid. But she read, she was the researcher. The internet was in her brain, you know. And then when the internet became in our pocket, where we could all look up anything we wanted to know, we could look up, that's when she lost the joy of it, you know. But and she collected.
Well, there's no challenge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what all, she had a bunch of celluloid bracelets, I saw those.
Yeah.
What all did she like to collect?
She collected. We probably have 100 Bakelite bracelets. She collected Bakelite. I'd be like, Mom, how do you know it's Bakelite? She's like, oh, rub it, smell it, you know, I mean everything, you know. She collected baskets, all kinds of baskets. She collected Navajo stuff.
Did she actually
pottery,
collect quilts?
quilts? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I found a little card that was like.
Yesterday.
Yeah, the quilts. What was it called? I forgot what she called herself. The Arkansas's blah 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 quilt lady, you know. But that's what she liked to do.
Yeah, and she left Tazi a note. As they were unwrapping it yesterday, it was to Tazi to tell her about the quilt and where she found it.
She did. She wrote me lots of letters. Lots of letters.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun to discover as you go along.
But guys, I know, and we'll talk as long as you guys want to, but I don't know what those cameras are showing you here, but I assure you that's not 1% of what I know about, and I only know about 1% of it as a whole. So this thing is huge.
And that you only know about 1% because we're testing how you're going to do before you see the 2%.
Whatever.
I'm not going to leave you. I told you I wouldn't leave you.
Yeah, don't leave us with all that stuff.
If
It's
he
so
left,
nice
you'd go
to
with
hear.
him.
I would.
No. Hey, I want us to do it again because I want to know your story and your story.
We'll get to that sometime.
I mean, which chapter?
It's the auction business has been good to all of us, and
You gotta love it. You have to love it.
I'm just thankful that Larry did what he did. I'm just telling you. I don't know of anybody else that's done this, and this.
Right, and you know, I think a lot of us knew Larry and knew that he was a collector, but nobody, I don't think, other than y'all, I had no idea the volume of his collection, and I had no idea of the quality of his collection.
I got a phone call from one of Larry's good friends last night who lives in West Plains. And he's the only guy that I know that knew, and I'm not going to say what it is, that knew about one particular thing Larry had. And Larry was a humble man. He didn't want to show stuff off.
Right.
You know, guys know where it is, and we're still finding it. But he was just that way, and that's why people didn't know. You know, I'm the outsider here, not being from Mammoth.
He didn't know too because he was sneaky.
He's really sneaky, yes.
He
There's no
didn't tell
question.
us. He was hiding stuff and bringing it home and not showing Mom and all. You know, so
He was doing that.
that's why we didn't totally know what all he had to start with.
No, but he kept it hidden, and I think there was that mystery about Larry. and his kind of his story, and he liked it that way. He wanted to go, you saw how he lived and what he did, and he was humble. He didn't want anybody to see the collection that he had.
And what's kind of sad about that is 65-70% of this stuff could be in a museum. It's that good. I believe it. That's just me. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but wow.
I've been doing it 20 years. Tazi has too. You've been doing it longer. Chris been doing it a long time. There's a lot of stuff, and I thought I'd seen everything, in the advertising world, and there's some pieces here that I've never seen.
And guys, it's not all just advertising.
No.
Everything from
Just what we're seeing.
Why don't we
What
break
you're seeing
it? Why
here.
don't we break it down for people that are listening by date? What we're doing.
Why
by
don't you
date.
do that? Because I have a problem with all these dates in my head.
Me too.
I know,
messed up all
ADHD.
Numbers baffle you.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
you can only say them really fast.
Yeah, and in order.
Yeah.
All right, February 13th, we're going to be on site at the house, which is 9 miles outside of Mammoth Spring, Arkansas. And I think we all should probably pitch in on what all we have seen on this on-site auction. It's going to be on-site only February 13th. It's going to be on-site only February 27th. So save those dates. This auction in here is going to be online only March 8th, and it's available for bidding right now. So next Saturday, February 13th, we are selling, I'll start because I was in the woods yesterday.
10 o'clock. Sorry.
10 o'clock. Go to soldasap.com for all the details, which is their company and their website. They'll have all the details. Everything's constantly being updated because it's evolving.
We're still digging.
We're still digging and discovering. We discovered 3 wonderful repeat signs yesterday. I mean, just constantly discovering things. We are going to have, just up in the woods, when you walk up in the woods, there's tractors, Coke machines, Coke coolers, hay trolleys, a whole pile of Honda motorcycles.
A pile
Of motorcycles, piles of bicycles, trailers. There's good junk. There's one thing that I really like. It's the cylinder. I think you call it a cylinder that came out of an old wash tub, and it's got holes all the way around it. Probably like 1940s. You can flip that dude upside down and make a wonderful light fixture. What else is up there in the woods, Kenny?
I've
Starting
seen,
just in the woods. Let's
I
do
just
the
told you
woods
about
first.
them on that trailer. Those steam engines.
Steam engines.
There's 2 old steam engines up there. I've seen a bunch of railroad jacks. Some of the simplex railroad jacks, which is really hot right now.
A shovel from Bulldog Railroad.
Bulldog Railroad.
Who's ever heard of
Found-
Bulldog Railroad?
Found a Bulldog Railroad shovel, and gosh, guys,
Sign parts, sign frames, the Conoco sign frames.
Yes.
it kind of looks like the American Pickers
Yeah.
warehouse that has blowed up.
Kind of spilled
That's
it.
true.
I mean,
That's a good
I
analogy.
mean, it's a good sale, and there are good signs. Some of them are rough because my dad, he liked history. He liked something that had another life. And then there's some really good stuff. There's some really, really good stuff, and there's stuff that I try to look up on the internet and can't find, which is weird. That never happens. It's always there. We've had some of that stuff, but out there at the house, there's good stuff out there. There's the lollipop thing. Is that, are y'all putting that in
There's
that
a
one?
Kindle lollipop, I believe it's Kindle lollipop sign with the base. Yeah, it's going out there.
Yeah.
There's Phillips 66 funnels, all kind of gas and oil stuff, and
There's porcelain
cans.
signs, there's flanges, there's
There's the Skelly sign.
there's
big shield.
the porcelain
Thermo
There,
sign.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Guys, this is about a 10-foot sign that's in the shape of an arrow, and it says Thermo, and it's in the prettiest blue.
Yeah.
It's a porcelain. It's porcelain over steel in the prettiest blue you've ever seen, and it's an arrow. And I don't know where that sign was at in there. Somebody might can tell us
Used to
sometime.
be neon. It's got
It
the
might be
neon.
across from where Buddy Rogers Station is, where we got the Thermo arrow here.
You know who
that
I
may have
think
been
I
on
buy?
Spring bottle.
that might have been on that bank at one time. Those bottles, yes, those
Yeah.
Mammoth Spring bottling works.
Mammoth, bottles from Mammoth Spring Bottling Company. There's stuff from when Palace Drug, didn't Palace Drugs used to be Miller's Pharmacy?
I think so.
There's all kinds of paper goods, calendars, and that type of thing from Miller's Pharmacy right here in Mammoth Spring.
Yeah.
That's got to go back probably 1920s, 1930s.
Oh, here, this is an example. This isn't for the sale out there, but these two items right here came out of Nimnick's. That was an old store downtown. I don't know if anyone local knows anything about it.
I've heard the name, but I don't remember.
50s or
You see
60s it went
The
out.
Orange Crush?
Dad and I bought out, or not Dad and I didn't buy anything. I was labor, but he bought out the Nimnick's estate, and those came right out of that store.
You want to tell the rest of the story about when you and your dad picked up from them next?
Ooh, that part? Yeah.
Come to the auction and I'll tell you the rest of it.
Yeah.
Because it's really interesting.
But there's vehicles. There's a 67 Tazi's first car.
Oh Lord, and it looks about like me now.
67 Mustang. There's a 1920s Wayne school bus that
Oh,
would
yeah.
make a neat restoration project for someone wanting to do an RV.
Does it run?
Oh, God, it did.
You're going to get that email. I
It
promise.
did at one time. It does still have its engine in it and transmission. But it'd be a neat project. And there's several other
I don't know
things
how it got
involved.
to the house.
That's a mystery. Yeah.
I'd love to know that.
And guys,
Anyone
also,
out there know how Larry got that bus to the house?
I
Let
don't.
us know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
also some of you scrap buyers. We're going to have scrap. I mean, it's not all going to be $1,000 items. There's going to be something for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It's Dusty Barn Finds.
Oh, but we
Um,
also got
Yeah.
dishes and antique
Yes.
phones and
I mean, we're
everything.
talking about signs here, but the antiques and the collectibles go way far beyond your imagination, like you've never seen before.
There's glassware, there's old scales, there's silver. We'll have some silver up there. We'll have some of his guns out there that we're selling on site. Some old ammunition that he collected, a few Western things. There is something really for everybody.
And
out
again,
there.
if you want to have a sneak peek, you can go to soldasap.com, go to their website. We're constantly uploading pictures, but there's quite a few already up.
This is an auction that you don't want to miss, and I don't care if you're an auction person or not. History, you're going to get to see history. Some of the old timers will be there just because it's Larry, but some of you younger folks, I promise you, we should charge to get into this auction.
That's how you sold my dad all that stuff.
You're gonna see, but we're not. I don't want anybody to think that. You're gonna see things that you've never seen before, and what they were used for, and how we came to be to where we are today. It's amazing that the history behind all this stuff, and luckily some of these guys have done their homework and they can probably tell you a little bit about it. But anyway, I don't want you to be scared to come. There's going to be a crowd. I'll just tell you, there's going to be a crowd there. You're probably going to have to park a half a mile away and walk unless you get there at 6 o'clock a.m. But I won't even be there at that time.
Well, listen, I hope there's a crowd.
There'll be a crowd there.
Because my dad would
Tazi.
love a
There'll be a
crowd.
crowd. You know, like she said, what Larry actually said is gather up all my friends and put a pig in the ground. And
I don't even know what put a pig in the ground means.
Well, roast a pig in the ground.
How do you do that? Well, we'll go to that later.
And let my friends have fun and have some bargains, whatever, you know. And there will be some bargains. I guarantee you, we don't know everything about everything, and we're still finding it. And there's going to be more than one item slipped through there that we don't know what it was or what it was worth.
And up in the woods, we're going to have to sell some stuff by the pile.
Yes, we are going to
yeah.
sell
We
some
have no
stuff by
choice.
the pile. We don't have a choice, and that's just the first auction out there. And I don't know that we can do it in 2. I'm thinking more like 4. And we're talking about a 5 or 6 hour auction each time.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, this is that's why it's going to take 4 of us. And I don't think Mark and Paula Cooper would mind me mentioning the
Oh,
name.
absolutely not.
Good friend of ours.
Yes.
Mark had said that he would come and help us if we needed him, and I think we are going to use Mark
I'm not
and
going to be
Paula.
there. So.
That's understandable.
This is a huge thing, and I've even I've even talked to some of my other auctioneer friends, and they've offered to help. And
Well,
this
Dad
is
loves a lot of
huge.
auctioneers.
This is huge. Gary Sexton. I visited with Gary about some of this stuff, and he was telling some of his people about it. And
I
Tom
appreciate
Selleck's
that.
name even came up. He's a
Tom Selleck.
he's a big Winchester collector, and a guy in I think it's in Willow Springs is real good friends with him, and they buy together. So he's going to know about this auction. May even be there. That'd be awesome.
I get to sign him in.
I mean,
I
the
can
word's
ask
going to
him
get
for
out.
advertising.
We are advertising this nationwide. There will be people there from several states. But local folks, this is something you don't want to miss. Whether you buy anything or not, you don't want to miss it. This is going to be the sale of the century, I promise you. It's huge. And,
I feel my
Tazi,
dad
you grew up
modest.
in it. You grew up in it, and it may not as I know it means a lot to you, but somebody coming in from the outside to see what he has amassed. I was speechless. I was. You did not prepare me well.
Well, I mean, honestly, I've never probably seen anything like it. You know, we've done some really good petroleum auctions and stuff. But my dad, they were eclectic. They liked everything, and they liked it because they liked it, you know. And they liked a lot of it.
You know, if he was just a Dr. Pepper collector, you'd walk in and you'd have 500 Dr. Pepper signs, okay?
Right.
Well, he wasn't. He got it all.
Yeah.
From everything, from toilet goods. I mean, there's a toilet goods sign right there.
Next to the
Jewelry repair. You know, I mean, it's just everything. It's unreal.
And I know Larry appreciated this, and we all have to appreciate this to be in the business. But kind of how I counsel people going through this, because it is rough going through an estate. But it's just like this. When a collector transfers their item through an auction, it transfers to other people who also love collecting. So it's kind of an honor to the items and the collector both.
Problem is I love it all too.
Yeah.
But I just can't keep it.
Who has this much room?
You know? Yeah. I can't
Yeah.
keep
You'd have to build a hotel to house all this.
Well,
it. And I don't
Larry
decorate
had
my
time.
house with
Larry
it.
had the time, or he took the time.
He was a busy man.
He was a busy man.
And this pretty much consumed him.
It did. It did.
And unless you're cut out for that,
No. I'm not.
you can't keep it.
No. Yeah. I mean, I'm not keeping much. You know, if you.
You know, and this is talking more personal about myself, which I don't care to throw it out there.
Ooh, therapy.
When you go to somebody's house, you know, I don't do a lot of on-site auctions anymore. I just don't have to, and like I said, I feel privileged to do this one. It's awesome. But you walk into somebody's house, and this is talking from the auction profession, and you see all this nice stuff and the very best things over there. You know, the diamond in the rough, and the homeowner's like, "Oh, that's not for sale."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh man." Well, Tazi was showing me a few things she wanted to keep, and it didn't matter. There's 1,000 more of them.
I kept one of those Laro signs.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
I'd be like, I'm keeping that. I'm sorry. But I mean, I'm getting a whole new perspective. I've always had empathy for my clients, and I thought I knew the shoes they were walking in, but I lost both my parents this year, and like I said, I thought we would do it ourselves. Because my dad probably would have wanted that, because you know he just was so proud of us. But like I said, it's like doing your own services. It's not something, you know, that it's just something I can't do. And John either, we just kind of quit because it was hard to let go of it. We needed somebody to push us, so we called these two people, and we're making
you
it
had a huge undertaking. I sold out my parents' stuff. I did. Not nothing.
And you're an only child, and I'm an only child. So
Well, I'm the only son.
only son, okay.
But I sold.
Oh, yeah, you
sold.
got a son.
I do have. Yeah, I got 3. But
Oh wow.
I sold their stuff out. But I'm gonna tell you something. I don't even remember it. I
I
put
see
myself
that.
out of my body
I get it.
somehow.
I can't do
There's
that.
parts
Been
of
there.
this I don't remember.
I've had auctions where my mother showed up. Not personal. My mother showed up. I didn't even know she was there until the next day when she said, "Y'all did a good job in the auction. Where were you?" I was there. That's happened to me. So it's a kind of I've taken my brain out of it as well at times. It's interesting.
It was hard to get through. But that's the only way I could get through. But this deal, you'd be doing it over. You couldn't do it.
And well, everything is sentimental to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend a lot of time on it. I mean, like these, I took them off the shelf, I put them back on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Then my mother-in-law came in, and she's not a collector. That's a funny story. John comes from a minimalist family, and I come from the picker's dream place. But anyway, my mother-in-law, the first time she ever came to our house, she looked around. I don't know if I'll use the exact words.
I will.
I know what she said. She looked around, the first time she ever met my mom, she looked around and she said, "Well, this is all nice and everything, but it looks like a lot of crap to me."
What Claire say?
Oh,
It was on.
yeah. And so on these two, I mean, I think they're beautiful, but my mother-in-law comes in and she goes, "Why are you keeping those? I don't go with anything at your house." And I was like, Which my mother-in-law's awesome, by the way. I'm
Right.
sorry, she's
Yeah.
one of my dearest best friends, and she and I are both kind of a little bit alike. But you
Kind
know.
of say what's on your mind.
Yeah, we do. That's why I don't ever want to go Facebook Live.
Oh, y'all get to meet her.
But anyway, we put it. I took it off the shelf, put it back. This whole experience, and I know you probably feel the same way, makes you a better auctioneer. Even though I thought I knew, I really knew. I can remember I did an estate for someone, and everything went sky high, and we did everything we could to please them. You know, we were trying to take care of them and take care of their problem. And she still didn't just seem that happy, and it wasn't that long ago. But she was happy with us. She wrote us a great review and all that. But she just didn't seem that happy, and I know why. You know.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I know they're probably bored at home.
Yeah,
but
yeah, they're bored.
Thank you guys for taking this on.
No.
And I would be a jerk for not mentioning my two buddies in Illinois that came down. You know who you are. And they looked at it, two of my best friends that live in Illinois, and they work with Almond Auctions out of Illinois. I'm going to give them a little thing, and they looked at it and they just kind of laughed. Said, John, we can't do this down here. That's too far. So.
And they brought all.
Well, they would have to live here for.
Yeah.
They would, and I understand that. And they're great, and they've sold more signs than anybody in the country, and they would do a great job. But they told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear, which I appreciate.
Which I had told you 10 times.
You
before.
did, but I wanted to hear from them.
Yeah.
Just
It-
listen.
because there was so much they couldn't.
No, they
couldn't live
couldn't.
here.
I just wanted to try.
Yeah, but I'm glad we have these people. No offense, all
No,
I
me
love
too.
y'all. Honestly, I prayed about it. I know I
Well,
go crazy. You know,
I'm not. This is not my expertise. It's
And
not.
neither is ours either. Absolutely.
But you know what? Like we was talking earlier, you put the four of us together, we can come up with an expert opinion. I guarantee you.
Four of them.
but you know,
Y'all three don't need me for
I
that.
did what Larry did. I went with my heart. So
That's what you did.
There was something I was going to say and I forgot what it was. But anyway, we're going to close. This is just we just wanted to introduce the owners. Probably you're going to get to see John sell a little bit. He said that he would try to sell a little bit out there. I don't think Tazi's going to be at the on-site auction, the first one anyway. Maybe she'll be at the second one. We'll see.
Second one, yeah.
You know, maybe. But guys, we just wanted you to introduce who we were. I know the local folks definitely know me and Christie. Didn't know if they knew John and Todd. Maybe Tazi didn't know if they knew John or not.
I was homecoming queen.
You was
in
homecoming
88.
queen, that's right.
I mean,
I
now
forgot.
let me
Go get your crown. It's over here by the door.
But anyway, we just wanted to get on here and show you a little bit, and we're gonna be putting tidbits on about this auction, kind of as we go. So stay tuned. You might want to follow the page so you'll get a whatever it is, notification when we're live or when we got something coming up. But that's all I had to talk about. You guys want to add anything in closing?
No.
We'll save the dates. February 13th on site in Mammoth Spring, Arkansas. February 27th on site auction number 2. And March 8th, you can bid right now or in real time. SoldASAP.com has all the details in that. Pretty much
And guys, you can, if you forget, I mean, we're wanting, you know, I'm just going to throw it out there. Larry wanted Tazi and John to do his auction. I'm pretty sure probably. He wanted that. Well, bless his heart, that was an undertaking that no two people could take on their own. So that's why we're all involved. Sold ASAP is going to headline every auction that we do, okay? But if you forget that, you can go to my auction, Cawthon's auction, or I may even put it on my store page as well, Cawthon's online outlet, or you can go to Christie's.
It's ChristieHatman.com.
ChristieHatman.com, and we will lead
Seen
you.
on A&E with Jeff Foxworthy.
Yeah.
You want me on A&E? Really, she is in that one.
But
Very blessed.
any of those will get you to where you need to get to. But Sold ASAP is going to headline all the auctions. That's what Larry would have wanted, and that's what we want to do what he would have wanted. And so.
No, he was so proud of the auction, us in the auction.
And he always mentioned, you guys, and I have to tell this. Of course, Larry was always proud of Tazi. Every time I saw him, hey, Christy, how are you? Let's talk about Tazi. And we did. Which I honestly, I think it's awesome because I love to see other women succeed, and she's done really well. She's an awesome auctioneer and really good at what she does. And of course,
Thank you. You too.
a father would be so proud of that, and he always was. And it took a lot of years before he started mentioning John. But
He
finally,
loved him.
he did. I noticed it later in his life. It was more like Tazi and John. And so I know that he was so proud of you
But
guys.
later in life, it was John and Tazi. John and Tazi.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course their son Taylor. He always says
Oh,
he's
yeah.
Taylor
And my
too.
mom loved John.
Oh, he brought
Where's
Taylor
that?
to my auction just not long ago.
Uh-huh.
You might could help me. That was that ain't been that long ago.
No. Yeah.
It's been with
he
him.
was doing great up until just the very
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was. I hate to talk about this. Did he pass away on Saturday?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really sure he was at myself Friday night.
Oh yeah.
And he wasn't supposed to.
He wouldn't have missed. He wasn't supposed to, but we suspected he was out doing that.
But anyway.
By the way, we started trying to social distance, but we've been working together, digging, so we're
One of us has it, we've all got
we
it.
got it.
And
We've already
and
had
the
it.
auction out there that day, we might as well talk a little bit about that, folks. If you want to wear a mask,
Please
Please
do.
do.
please do. Of course, the auctioneers won't have one on, but
But we've been all snuggled up.
yeah,
for a while.
we've all been together in the same locations forever here in the last couple of weeks. But anyway, we're gonna have this thing ready to roll. We got such an undertaking out there. We're gonna try to be prepared for the auction the best we know how to make it run smooth and operate. We are gonna run 2 rings. We're gonna run 2 rings. There's no way around it. So you need to bring an extra buyer, because I have been to auctions where there's 2 rings and it just really upset me because there's something over here I want and something over there I
Dad
want.
hated 2 rings.
I hated 2 rings, but guys, I understand it. I know why. So a little heads up, be prepared for that. When you show up, there's going to be 2 rings running. So if you want to, and you're going to want to be at both places at the same time, I promise you. So bring another buyer with you. What else?
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and announce that we are going to have a preview on Friday. The auction is on Saturday at 10 a.m. But we're going to do a preview. If you want to come out and feel like a real American picker and walk up in the woods and see all this, you can come out Friday from noon till 4 and see what all is up in the woods, what's across the yard, and see what we've drug up. Go home, do your research, make your notes, do whatever you want. I'm that type of person.
I will tell you, their cell phone service is pretty poor out there.
Non-existent.
non-existent. So if you're wanting to look something up online from the location, you better come look ahead of time.
Yeah, and that'll be Friday from noon to 4. And please respect those times. Probably don't come any earlier than noon. Let us get time to get set up and set out, and then we'll welcome you at noon.
And then Friday night you go to your auction.
Friday night I'll have an auction.
Yeah, you
Yes.
can practice at Kenny's
Yeah.
Friday night.
Got a killer one. This
He's got a great
Oh,
one.
you
This,
do? Tell
yeah, I've been down
Tell
there.
Tell us.
Yeah, it's a
Don't
killer.
tell it because there's stuff I want.
It really looks kind of like Larry's.
That's
It
awesome.
does. I've been down there today. It's a good one.
Tell us.
It's an estate out of St. Louis. The man was a collector, and it's everything you can imagine. Nothing like what Larry's got. I ain't taking up maybe 1%. I don't know, but we got some good stuff. Really good stuff.
And you can
It's on my
check-
Facebook page.
There you go.
Just go to Coffin's Auction Facebook page and you can look at it.
And you got one tonight.
We've got an online auction tonight. We sell a lot of natural history rocks and fossils, gems, and jewelry. And it's at ChristieHatman.com starting at 4 p.m. And also the beginning of a marble collection. We have about 15,000 marbles that we're
Oh,
going to
we
be
found
selling.
that jar of marbles out there the other day too.
I got that.
And Larry's got marbles.
Oh, yeah. One of my guys, there's a lot of people working behind the scenes here. I mean, we got people standing around us right here,
Yeah.
and we appreciate you.
Tazi's homecoming entourage.
Yeah. But we out there the other day, one of our guys that we have working out in the woods, he comes carrying up a jar. The top's busted off. It's full of rusty looking water, and it is full of Native American marbles,
Clay marbles.
clay marbles.
And what's the other thing, Christy?
It's like a axe of some sort.
Yeah.
And we just found it in the woods.
They used to find out there at my grandparents' place. They would find arrowheads and stuff.
Don't we found that to be up there digging.
Oh, okay. They found nothing.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're
And
gonna.
we've got some over here too that's going to be the online auction.
How long we been on?
Oh yeah, we gotta go.
An hour.
What time is it?
Past my bedtime.
I'd be
It
bored
is
with this by
two.
now. I'm bored with this.
So guys, I think you've got the gist of it. We could go on and on and on and on and still couldn't tell you about all of it, but
Stay tuned, we'll give you
stay
more
tuned.
later.
We'll come back. Thanks, guys.
And we're gonna get their story next time.
On behalf of soulasap.com, Christie Hatman Auctioneers, Cotham's Auctioneering, we appreciate everybody, and this is going to be a good sale. Thanks.